unless you involve the person in the court system. And this is kind of, we had some legislation passed a couple of years ago, and this is when we added this hazardous accumulation of animals statute. So before you walked into a hoarding situation and you say you had 60 cats, you could charge somebody with 60 counts of animal cruelty. But recognizing the mental illness, recognizing there are other issues behind it, we kind of came up with this legislation that deals with hazardous accumulation of animals and does a couple of things. One, say it lets you charge them with 1 count of hazardous accumulation. It gets them in the court system where now they can potentially get the mental health assistance they need. There may be sanctions imposed that prevent them from owning animals again. That's probably the more important part of it, because there is a huge a very high rate of reoffense in hoarding situations. So unless you, and even if you do, I mean, I say unless you impose legal restrictions on future animal ownership, there's not a whole lot you can do to stop it from happening again. And even if you do, there's no, necessarily a preventative, but at least it allows you to monitor the situation. As far as checking on them, if there are no criminal charges brought, animal control can follow up. But these people still retain their right to privacy. They don't have to let you in the home, unless you have a viable complaint that they're accumulating animals again. There's not a whole lot you can do, and then you have to be very careful about harassment. You can't go knocking on these people's doors every week to check on them. So while we're sometimes reluctant to charge people criminally because we recognize there may be no intent behind it, sometimes it's not a bad thing, because then it allows you to monitor them, and it also gives you an opportunity to get them some assistance they wouldn't necessarily get on their own.
Okay. So with that high rate of reoffense though, is it a possibility that these people could then go to those other shelters and readopt, or are they on a watch?
Yeah, so you really can't do a watch list or do not adopt list. It's kind of been spoken about. It's very similar. I don't know if you've heard about the animal abuse registry. That's a law they've been trying to pass for years, and that's talking about people who are convicted of animal cruelty. But to take someone who's never been charged and put them on a list, I think would probably violate certain rights that they have. So there's really no way. There's no way to prevent them. There's no way to legally stop them. I mean, if they went tomorrow and purchased an animal, adopted an animal, they're not breaking the law. That's the only downside to not pursuing things criminally. Because a lot of these cases that go to court, ultimately they end up with some restriction on being able to own animals going forward. And then sometimes you can actually work into an agreement, some type of monitoring agreement where animal control can go every 6 months and check. So I don't think we're 100% sure that they won't be charged, but the way I'm understanding it is it doesn't look like either agency at this point is pursuing criminal charges.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're elderly. You take that into consideration, age, mental health, physical wellness. We try to utilize discretion, and it's not always the right thing to do.